Thank you very much, Bailey, to coming in today and doing an interview with us. On behalf of the leadership team, thank you very much. And I think today we'd just like to ask a few questions, a little bit about how Scotch has resonated with you over these past years since you've graduated, then a little bit into your football career, and then where the last 10 years have led you as well. So I'll start off the questions just by first asking, what's one of the lessons that you've learnt through Scotch, or your experiences of Scotch as well, and what has it taught you about leadership?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. I think looking back at my time at school, one of the big things, or the biggest change for me at school, was actually coming to Scotch and moving from Broome as a boarder, and boarded for 2 years in year 8 and 9. Went into Key's house, went into the boarding house across the road here, and then transitioned into being a day boy as mum and dad moved down after that. And then I think the biggest thing that I took out of school was I just tried everything. Had a real crack and dipped my toe into, did a bit of drama, debating, music, obviously played a lot of sport. I've always loved my sport. So just tried everything, which gave me a really good sense of what I did and didn't like, really, what I was and wasn't good at. And I think I've tried to keep that curiosity, and it's held me in good stead throughout the rest of my life and my career as well, post school.
Yeah, wow. And so we'll do a bit of a two-parter question here, me and D-Crom. So first of all, if you could give one piece of advice to your year 12 self, what would it be?
I think it'd be enjoy it. It's such a busy part of your life with exams, leadership, sport, Arts Carnival, swimming, all the rest. But it really is the best part of your life, where you get to come to school, hang out with your mates. You're in the trenches together, you're studying, you're preparing for exams, things like that. And it's a really strong bonding experience to be able to go through that with a group of guys that are your really close mates, and those relationships hang around for the rest of your life as well. A lot of them. I had my wedding recently, and my 3 groomsmen were all mates from school that I went through. 2 of them did IB with me, and 1 was a WACE student as well. So those connections and that time is when you go out and you start working or you're at uni, it's just different. You don't get to hang out with those mates and do things like the Arts Carnival, where there's a whole block of students, and there's 100, 200 of you all singing the same song and chanting and cheering. And I'm pretty lucky that through footy I've got to keep a bit of that, where I get to go to work with a group of 18 to 30-year-olds every day, and we get to work towards something and try to achieve something together. But most people aren't that lucky, and so to be able to enjoy that while it lasts, while working really hard, you've got your nose to the grinder at times, and you have to dig in, and there's long nights and study and or sport training and things like that. But yeah, enjoy that period of hard work and companionship with your mates. Yeah.
And been about a decade since you graduated, what do you think the biggest change between your year 12 self and now is?
I've definitely grown up a lot in the last 10 years. I think, we had our 10-year reunion last year, and looking around at some of the boys and catching up with everyone again was really special. I think for me, my sense of self and what's important to me has grown, and it's not so much just about me and what's important to me and that selfish kind of element, which I think you can have as a young man and as a young boy. And really expanding that. My wife's really helped with that, and taught me so much about myself, what's important to me, my family, and getting, I guess, a stronger understanding of who I am as a person, what do I value, and just through that, I think that's just part of the natural growing up phase, and it's been a bit of reflection, and at a footy club as well, we're pretty lucky where we get a lot of resources around, our mental health, supporting the person, not just the player as well, which is really helpful to grow and develop yourself in multiple different ways. So you're not just a footy player, you're not just a Scotch boy, you're a brother, you're a family member, you're a contributor to the community, you're a football player, you're a learner, and things like that.
I guess on that topic of mates, you mentioned your groomsmen obviously being close mates from school and the reunion last year. How much exposure do you have with, how many of your friends from school would you regularly catch up with, and how have those relationships kind of changed as you've, I guess, grown older and gone down divergent paths?
Yeah, so I've got a really relatively small circle, and like my family and friends are really important to me. And some of those, so yeah, as I said, my three closest mates are all Scotch boys. And even there's a broader friendship group as well that are all, that's made up of some girls that we met through growing up and socials and balls and things like that. And then there's been like people drop in and out of that friendship group as well. And as partners come in, they kind of get added to that group, which is really special. But there's a core group of us that have been together since year 8, essentially, and probably more closely since year 11 and going through the IB together. Yeah. And that kind of process of when you're in the trenches together and really studying hard, working hard, and having a lot of fun with it as well. And then I think the other thing that changes as you leave school and get out into the real world, you become more time poor, and you guys have a bunch of close mates here. And you figure out as you get older and as you leave school which ones you actually need to and want to prioritise. Because at the moment you guys are at school and your mates because you see each other every day because you're forced to, essentially. And then as you go to uni, some of those people move to Melbourne or move interstate, move countries, go to a different uni, start working, things like that. And you need to prioritise and choose, I guess, who you want to be close with. And some people maintain that really wide circle and they maintain connections with a lot of people. And I've kind of been one who's more tighter with my circle and try to have a few deeper connections with people. But you actually have to make a choice and an effort to be close with them. And that's something I've been proud of, the ability to maintain some of those relationships with my close mates. And then it's buy-in from them as well to I guess, want to maintain that relationship with me, as you have to choose and spend time with each other. And then as we start having families and things like that, I guess then that's another element that comes in. You're more time poor, and it becomes even more of a choice to maintain those friendships.
Obviously, like you mentioned, sort of how busy you were in year 12 and all sort of the areas that you sort of got involved in. But how did you sort of manage, like, obviously playing footy at a high level and then study and leadership as well, like when you're in year 12?
Yeah, looking back on year 12, I'm like, wow, I was doing a heap, like leadership, footy. Footy was an interesting one. So that was my underage Colts year, which is important, but not the be-all and end-all. So I actually only ended up playing 3 games of Colts that year and made a conscious decision to prioritise my schooling in that year. So I broke my wrist against Hale in round 1, so that ruled me out of half the school season, and then so missed that first Borders long weekend and things like that, which are the opportunities to go and play Colts footy. Yeah. But then in that June, July school holidays, I made a decision to go on exchange to Reunion Island, which helped with my French studies. So I did 3 weeks over there learning French, rather than staying in Perth and playing footy, playing Colts. Yeah. So made a conscious decision that I'm only going to do year 12 once. I want to do it well, to the best of my ability, and give everything to the schooling aspect of it and the academic side. And then footy's still going to be there. Like at the end of that year, I'll have opportunities towards the back end of that year, and then obviously the next year when you leave school and you're at uni, and that was my top age Colts year. And I'm really proud of that decision, and it's one I'd make 100 times out of 100 looking back and going back to it. And then ended up playing the second last game of the Colts season once Scotch footy had finished. Played the second last game of the Colts season, and then I was talking to Mr. Gale about the next round, and we had the quads athletics meet, and he said, "No, I want you to compete in that instead of playing footy." For Claremont. So I did that, and then it was finals for Colts after that. And I said to the coaches, and I think having these adult conversations is really important with time management and controlling your own destiny and not just going along passively. But I said to the Colts coaches, look, if I'm a chance to play, like I'm happy to train and I'll keep coming and training, competing for a spot, whatever else. But if I'm no chance, can you just let me know? Because then it's a big commitment, training 3 nights a week plus game days on the weekend. And if I'm not a chance, I'll probably go back and just focus on school and things like that. And they said, no, we really value you. We think you're a pretty good chance to play. So ended up sticking that out and playing the qualifying final and then the grand final as well for the Colts team, and won a flag off 3 games, which was pretty special. So yeah, that was my year 12, I guess, footy and the balance between footy and the push and pull of between footy and academics. But yeah, footies, and at that point I wasn't sure if I was good enough to make it in the AFL and things like that, and I needed a backup plan. And I guess that was where it kind of started, where the identity wasn't just as a footballer, and that was all or nothing in the footy basket. It was, I want to develop everything else outside that as well, which I think has 100% helped my footy in the long run as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And how did your leadership in school influence your leadership, like, outside of it?
It definitely exposed me to leadership for the first time, and in like a formal capacity. Speaking in front of groups is something that I definitely got out of being a school leader, and giving a speech at assembly in front of 1,000, 1,500 people. And me and my mate Mac actually did it without notes, so we just memorised the entire speech, just brute force memorise it, practice it a million times until like I could almost say it in my sleep, and was so nervous standing up there in front of everybody, and there's no safety nets, no notes or anything like that. So then after that, all the public speaking and things that I did after that felt easy, because I'd done the hardest thing that I could imagine, getting out there, speaking in front of everybody, and it went well, which I'm really grateful for. I don't know what I would have done if I'd crashed and bombed. But that gave me a lot of confidence that, like, if you can get through that, I can get through a whole bunch of other stuff. And it was, to be honest, similar at school. Like, if I could get through the IB and doing the 6 subjects plus TOK, extended essay, then I can get through uni. Was a breeze after that, and things like that.
Yeah.
Was the IB always something you were going to do, or was that a decision in year 10 that kind of came?
It was a decision in year 10. Did any of you guys do the IB?
Yeah, Jack and I both do it.
Yeah. It was a decision in year 10. I didn't know a heap about the different options. Like, I was the oldest in my family, so my brother was a year younger than me. So like, I feel like when you're older, you've got a bit of awareness of what they're doing, and mum and dad have a bit more understanding and things like that. But I was coming in cold, had no idea, was going to the 2 different talks and trying to decide. In the end, the swing factor was I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. So but I knew I wanted to do a language. I wanted to do chem and physics, but then I also really liked economics. So being able to do all of those, and I wanted to do the highest maths as well. So wanting to do all of those wouldn't have fit. It was essentially 7 subjects at a waste level, yeah. So, but then because you combine the maths into HL at IB level, so I was able to squeeze them all in. And it's like I think I took the harder path, and in doing that, and I'm really grateful and proud of myself that I did that. And I'd do that 100 times out of 100, I think, because I really pushed and challenged myself.
So obviously you talked about like your footy journey and your underage year, and then like when you're at uni, your sort of top age year. Like, unfortunately you missed out on the draft in 2016, and sort of I can imagine you're probably really disappointed in that, but sort of how did you respond to that and bounce back sort of into the next year? I think you played like Claremont League the next year, and put yourself in a really good position there.
Yeah, I think when you guys are imagining your life from here, I imagine you think it's just going to go like that, and you go to uni, get good marks, get the job you want, find a really good partner, and just kind of go from there. But unfortunately, life doesn't work like that, and my career and footy has been going like this, like from the get-go essentially, and still at the moment, like, not in the team and struggling with some form and things like that. But yeah, that was a real kick in the guts, because you put so much into that year and wanting to get drafted. You're getting interviewed by clubs, and all your family and friends are pumping you up. And so when I missed out on that draft, I was devastated. Like, I remember not wanting anybody in the room just in case it didn't go my way. So it was just mum, dad, my brother and sister, I think. Like, didn't want my girlfriend in the room at the time and things like that. And then I remember just like bursting into tears and being like inconsolable. But then I actually had Claremont training that evening because it was already pre-season had started.
Yeah.
So that happened at 2:00, the rookie draft, which is just refreshing a page on a laptop. It's not the sexy
Goodness.
national draft where your name's getting called out. It's
Yeah.
just like on a laptop screen. And so that happened at 2:30, 3:00, and then had training starting at 5.
Far
So
out.
I was like, I let myself feel all the emotions, I think, straight away and got it out of my system to an extent.
Yeah.
But then I think Dad might have come in and had a chat to me, but there's a decision point then. It's like, do you want to dig in and have a crack and keep putting yourself out there and exposing yourself to some of these feelings, or you can play it safe and you can just say, oh, the recruiters don't know anything, they're wrong, but I gave it a crack, and then you can give up or just not give everything.
Yeah.
And then you've got an excuse as to why it didn't work out. The recruiters are wrong, or just focused on uni instead, things like that. But I decided to tip in instead, and I've had that point at a couple of times in my career where I've been out of contract and things weren't looking like they were going my way, or you get dropped. And for me, it's kind of a decision point. You can chuck a sook and blame other people and not be happy with how it's going, or you can decide to make the most out of it, buckle up, have a crack, keep kind of putting everything in, and then hope, and then you're just hoping you get rewarded.
Yeah.
You control everything you can control, work on your game, work on what you need to work on, but at the end of the day, a lot of that stuff's out of your control. It's in the recruiter's hands, it's in list manager's hands, it's in your coach's hands for selection. And I think at most of those points in my career, I've chosen to dig in, keep having a crack. And that's not always easy, and it's human nature. You start to go down the blaming, the negativity path. But the other way I look at it as well is you can be a sad sack and hate it and be really negative and things like that. And then that's when you start dragging teammates along with you, complaining to your partner, complaining to your friends, family, whatever. Or you can be that positive influence and keep buttering up, keep a smile on your face. And I think that's just a much happier way to live life. And then at that next training session, you're having fun still, you're mucking around, you're competing, as opposed to just being a sad sack, essentially. I think it's just a much happier, nicer way to live life and being a positive, energetic influence as opposed to bringing others down with you.
Yeah, definitely. I think you talked there about kind of some, obstacles and kind of unexpected things that come up in the way. So you were drafted as a midfielder out of Claremont, but then you've also spent a lot of time in the forward line at Freo, but now you're kind of playing as a defender. What do you think? What traits do you think you have that make you able to deal with kind of those changes, pick up things quickly, and be so versatile?
I think a big part of it is I've always tried harder than a lot of the people around me, and I've cared more, and that has sometimes hurt me. But a lot of the time, it's a really positive thing, and and it's not just on field and in that moment. There's a ball in between us, and I'm not saying that I care more than you and I'm going to go get that ball. It's more about the process and working on my craft, things that I need to work on. So when I came in, I wasn't a very good kick. So I was kicking I was kick footies with my development coach for hours after training, and we were filming it, critiquing it and going back, and now that's not a negative part of my game anymore. So caring about that process and caring about wanting to improve and things like that, I think is something that I've always tried to do, and that can be hard as well because you don't always see that improvement immediately in the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Sometimes so at the moment I'm working on my footwork, trying to be a quicker, more explosive athlete. And I started that 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and it's only just starting to pay fruition now, and it's starting to come out on game day and things like that. So I think that dedication to the process and craft has definitely helped me with that. And just being open and willing to learn, which is something that started in the IB, I think, and just that openness and curiosity has always held me in good stead. So it's something that I'm constantly trying to keep bringing to just my life in general, not just footy.
I guess lifelong learning and that kind of thing. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool to hear.
Yeah. So I finished. So I got 2 years done of uni because I missed my first draft year, which I was really lucky to do. Like some of the boys come straight out of school into a draft, get drafted, and then it takes them 8 years to do an undergrad part-time essentially because you're doing 1 or 2 units a semester. But I had 2 years already done, so I only had 1 year left. So that took me 2 and a bit years. And then so I was able to go out and start doing some other stuff. And but I found I really missed that learning component. So in the last couple of years, I've just gone back to uni to do a master's in the economics of sustainability.
Oh, wow.
And I've really just loved going back to uni and just writing assignments and just listening to the lectures and learning again. It's just a different part of your brain. And it's something that's helped my footy too. And it stimulates you in a different way.
I guess a second avenue outside of the game.
Yeah, and for some people, it might not be uni. It's like a language or it's guitar or things like that, and it's kind of figure out what's going to work for you, and what. But if it's something that you're passionate about and interested in, I think you need to be multifaceted. You can't just be all George Gale the footballer or Bailey Banfield the footballer or Bailey Banfield if I'm working in finance or something, like. Life's just more enjoyable if you're open and curious and learning other things.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
And then building on that a little bit, you've had a lot of changes within your career from positions and then as well to coaches as well and having to manage that. Do you have a process that you really undertake whenever you go between as such when you've had the AFL coaching shifts? Do you have a process that you undergo when you have these big changes happening to you, and how do you kind of manage that?
Well, the first coaching shift kind of happened when I was still relatively young, and I didn't have that strong a relationship with Ross just because I was only 2 years in the system and I only spent one of those playing. But JL's come in, and so he's been my coach for six years now, I think. And seeing his approach to learning and improving himself, and how he leads the group and things like that has been really powerful for me, and seeing him on his journey, and then I've built a relatively strong relationship, I think, with him. And so, I've got so much respect for the way he communicates with the people around him, leads, but also delegates and gives other people the praise and the recognition. And I guess not just, I think as a leader, sometimes you can potentially just take it all on yourself. But he gives praise and recognition where it's due. And I think the footy club as well, like our new GM, Joe Bride, he's been in the role for 2 or 3 years now. Simon Garlick's come in as CEO 4 or 5 years ago now as well. So you just get exposed to all these different types of leaders, and they've all got different ways of doing things. And seeing them all be authentic to themselves and lead in their own ways has been really fascinating for me. Yeah. It's something I've taken a little bit from each of them, I think. Because everybody's different, and the way that I lead is going to be different to the way that Sam Sukowski leads, Andy Brayshaw leads, that Simon Garlick leads. Yeah. So it's just figuring out, I guess, what works for you and how that looks.
Yeah.
So obviously Freo are doing pretty well this year, and I mean, unfortunately, you're not sort of in the team at the moment. But I mean, that's not to say like you haven't helped them sort of build over the last sort of previous years to sort of get to this position. But what do you reckon sort of has changed this year, and should fans start booking their tickets in September?
That's been a question we've been getting a lot. And to be honest, there's been more people telling us they've already booked the tickets. So we better take care of our side of things. I think it's been a natural progression and a build, and I think it's been a dedication to the process. And it probably flipped a little bit halfway through last year. We'd started relatively slow, and then we won 11 or 12 of our last 13 or 14 games after that. And then that's continued on to this year. And there's definitely an element of luck involved. Like there's a few games this year that have been decided by a kick. And if we lose 2 or 3 of them, then the record doesn't look as good as it does. And it's such an even comp, and everybody else is trying to achieve the same thing. You need a bit of luck at the right time, I think. So hopefully that goes our way this year. But we've put ourselves in a really strong position to start the year that hopefully we can play some home finals, and that always helps. Like the crowd at Optus is always amazing. Like big crowds, really loud. Wharfie time is like literally the loudest thing I've ever heard. It's so cool. So I think that's a real superpower. But I think something that we've worked really hard on is the mental side of the game. And you'll see when there's momentum shifting and swinging in games, which is happening more and more at AFL level. This year, we've consistently been able to be the team that's able to stick to your process when things aren't going your way, or when things are, like the North game on the weekends, another example. It's pretty easy to go up 10 goals, 12 goals, 15 goals, and then people start chasing kicks or looking for goals themselves or getting ahead of the footy before we've won contests. But the ability of the boys to stay true to the process and keep playing our way, either when adversity's against you, and Adelaide have kicked 3 goals in a row coming into the late in that game, or when we're up 15 goals against North. I think we've got extreme confidence now that our way is good enough to beat the best teams and to stand up in big games and on final stages as well. Gives us that confidence that whether things are going for us or against us, we'll be able to stick to our process, and that's good enough to get it done. And it helps having a bit of talent as well, like seeing the blokes like Murphy Reid, Luke Jackson, Shea, Bolts, like doing their thing. They do some stuff that I'm extremely jealous of. I would love to be able to have some of Bruce's razzle and dazzle, or move like Dogger at his height. He's pretty exceptional. So, yeah, having a bit of talent obviously always helps as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously that's a bit more of what the team took away, but like, what did you personally take away from last year's finals? Like, was there many things that really changed how you view, or like, especially around your footy and in your personal life as well?
Yeah, that sort of back end of the year gave me a lot of confidence that I can stand up personally in big games, and my footy is good enough to be playing in those finals and later in September. And then this year obviously hasn't gone my way so far, but I think there's still that belief for me personally that if I get the call up, or when I get the call up, that I'm good enough and my footy's strong enough to stand up in those moments, which, yeah, if you go into those games and you're not sure personally and things like that, it can be tough because footy is such a confidence game, and you want to be able to go into a game with confidence, but we also speak about competence. So like, having done that before, I know I've got the competence. So whether or not the confidence is wavering because of this year's form or this year's selection process, I know that in my back pocket that I've got that competence. I've done it before, and I actually think I'm a better footballer this year than I was last year, which gives me a lot of faith that when or if I do get my opportunity, I'll be able to stand up, take it, and do what the team needs to help us win.
So just on that, like, finals, does like the team or you personally change anything for a big game, or are you just trying to keep it sort of similar to what you've done all year?
Yeah, we try to keep our process very similar. So we've got a mantra this year going 1-0, which means that no matter what's happened the week before, we want to go 1-0 that next week. Yeah. So you want to win, and it's the old adage, one game at a time kind of thing. But you want to build habits and processes that stand up in the biggest games, and you want to practice them throughout the season. So you get 23 opportunities throughout the year. You want to be, and I think that's where our consistency has been really strong this year, is that you don't waver in that process, whether you're playing a Essendon or the Eagles who are struggling, versus then you tighten up your process and get up for a big game against Collingwood at the G, or Sydney coming over here and things like that. You want to have a process that you trust and that you've executed 23 times or as to the best of your ability throughout that year. And that's where the reps last year, the back end of last year, count as well. So it's like 40 times in a row we've done this now. We're going to do it again for prelim week, grand final week, hopefully, and trusting in that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just had one more question. I guess you've alluded to the stuff you're doing outside of football with the NBA. Is that right, NBA? But I just wanted to ask. Obviously, a lot of people would know you as the professional football player, but you also work at Freo as the sustainability officer, and I've seen you do a lot of volunteering as well in places like the Kimberley. You've already mentioned how it's important to have other things in your life beside football, but do you think giving back to the community is an important part of that as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It just, like, for me, selfishly, I get so much out of that stuff. So I do some work with Starlight, which is sick kids in hospital. My wife and I are ambassadors of Worthy, who support domestic violence victims and help give them a safe place, a safe haven, a home for them and their kids. And then some stuff up in the Kimberley as well through the footy club. And selfishly, every time I go to one of those sessions or you help somebody else, you come out with a smile on your face. I feel energised. I think perspective is really important, and we're incredibly lucky. And just the fact that you guys go to Scotch means that you guys are incredibly lucky. And everybody's got, I think it's human nature to always be wanting more, or looking at somebody sitting next to you thinking they've got more than you've got and I want that. But when you go into some of those situations and it's this 5-year-old kid who's struggling, he's going through cancer treatments and doesn't have much energy, or their brother or sister might be sick, so they have to miss school and spend time in hospital just because mum and dad are in the hospital too and can't take them to school. And to see those kids with smiles on their faces and loving life and mucking around, playing games with you, it's like just puts it in perspective. Like, my struggles at the moment are I'm not playing AFL footy when I want to be. I'm not being able to put out, I guess, and achieve what I want to professionally right now. But some of these struggles that these kids and families are going through, and still having a smile on their face, still being positive, puts that into perspective for me. And that was another part of the IB, is that community service aspect. And I would encourage I think as humans, we want that connection to other people. So for me, that's one of the ways that I get that connection and give back to the community. And for me, selfishly, it's because I get so much out of that, which I think is really powerful and always puts my problems and issues into perspective and puts a smile on my face. Yeah.
And that passion for sustainability, is that something that's you've always had, or has that kind of come into fruition in the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's something I think growing up north, and like the water and tides up there, the red dirt, even just being able to look at the stars and things like that up in Broome has always connected me to nature and the land. And then playing footy, obviously you're outside. We're getting impacted by more and more extreme weather events. Like, we're training in 40 plus degrees for a whole week of pre-season, like doing 3 sessions a week from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in 40 plus degrees.
Yeah, fine.
There's games being cancelled or postponed because of cyclones and things up north. And as AFL footballers, we're pretty lucky that we're insulated from a lot of that. We've got trainers, we've got docs on hand, things like that to help us get through some of those sessions and things.
Yeah.
But grassroots footy, and like there was, I think half the games in New South Wales were cancelled last year because the pitches were too wet and soggy.
Yeah.
So that's opportunities for those kids to make those connections through sport, to have fun with their mates, to run around, play the sport that they're passionate about. And we're losing some of those opportunities. And then I guess the other part of it is my wife and I are planning to have kids pretty soon, and I want my kids to have the same experiences, be able to run outside, play with their mates, without having to worry about the extreme weather events, temperatures getting hotter and things like that. So that's something I'm really passionate about, is trying to make sure that these future generations have the same opportunities that we've been lucky enough to have. Because they deserve it. And our actions now should be helping them to have those opportunities, not taking away those opportunities for them.
Yeah, definitely.
And then just to hopefully wrap up a bit, we just thought we might do a bit of quick fire Q&A.
Yep.
So I'll start us off. If you had to tattoo on yourself one kind of mantra that you would live the rest of your life by, what would that be?
Say yes to opportunities.
Yeah. Do you miss marching?
I actually do. It was quite fun.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of questions, like when you describe marching, and people are like, what the f- is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, just seeing everybody, it's just teamwork, seeing everybody wheeling around the corner. And I quite like Cameron House, left, wheel, and just like putting a bit into that.
Yeah.
Things like that was always good fun.
Favourite teammate at the club now?
Sam Switkowski.
Hardest opponent you've played on?
Luke Shuey. He was always, so I tagged him a couple of times in my early years. He's a very clever footballer, ran really hard, was very smart, like got to good spots, but he was also very bony, so he was always hitting you with an elbow or a knee somewhere where
Sharp
it hurt.
edges.
So he knew exactly how to get away from a tag.
If you had to rewrite your EE or do TOC all over again, which one would you choose?
Theory of knowledge. I
Yeah.
think that's something I'd have more appreciation for now, whereas at school it was more just get through this. I don't know what the heck I'm writing, but I'm just getting through it.
Yeah.
What's sort of your favourite like memory of Scotch, like football or non-football or both?
Winning ATS in year 12 was definitely a highlight. And the other one is in year 10, our ones won the Alco in footy, and it was the first time in
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
You guys win it all the time now, so it's probably not as special. But we played against Hale away, and then the bus came back and we watched the second half or the last quarter of the Scotch Hale game, which was essentially the grand finals, like the second last round. And then when it was a really tight game, and Bevan Bennell kicked a goal in the last 30 seconds, which sealed it.
Yeah.
And then everybody charged the field, and it was a massive hucko right in the middle of the memo. And that was like, it felt like the whole school was there, and that was pretty
Yeah,
epic.
Yeah.
What do people like? I know you must get this question quite a lot now. People like Patrick Voss and Mason Cox bring to the club. How are they around the club?
I think at any footy club you need different personality types. Like you've got your quieter blokes, your deeper thinkers, and then you've got your energetics blokes and your extroverts. And those two are both the most extroverted people I've ever met, just about. Coxie's just your typical American, like he's really loud, boisterous, like he's Texan, and he's also a very large man. And Vossie's a real connector of our group, and the side that I guess the people on the outside don't see is he works harder than anybody else. Like the numbers he puts up in the gym, his work on his marking and his contests and things, like that's what's got him to where he is and why he's able to just go out and play.
Yeah.
And he plays like a big man as well, which is always, like you always want your big fellas like JT, Josh Tracy, Vossie. They play like big men, which makes everybody else around them stand up and feel that, I think.
Yeah.
And what was the best thing Scotch has given you?
My mates.
And then just to wrap up, would there be anything else that you'd maybe want to tell to the podcast, or any last final comments?
I think just you guys are in your last 3 to 4 months of year 12, and don't wish the time away. There's that temptation of, exams are so close, I just want to be on the other side of that. I want to be at Levers, I want to whatever. But just enjoy that time, like with your mates in the trenches. And yeah, time flies whether you want it to or not. So enjoy being in the present.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you.